Okay, hi everyone, Dr. Phil. I am going to be, just make sure this is working. Yeah, got it. Okay, I am going to be setting up the lab for Wednesday. Today, I want to make sure we have some E. coli cultures that are going to grow, and I'm going to make sure they're pure E. coli. So in lecture, I talked to you all about selective media, and I talked to you about differential media. So this is an EMB plate, right? It will grow gram-negative bacteria, which E. coli is, and it will give us an indicator if it is a lactose fermenter. And if it ferments lactose, I said if anything ferments, it's going to change the pH, slightly more acidic. And this will give us a, if it works, I'll show all of you on Wednesday. It'll give us a really cool greenish, almost metallic sheen. And we'll see that hopefully if everything comes out on, well, I'll come back Monday and see if it came out. So I have 3 cultures of E. coli. So I've just numbered them, actually I lighted them. So I know which, tube they came from, and I also labeled my plate. I just randomly picked J, ZZ, A, CC. I could randomly pick whatever I wanted to label them. And I just really wanted to sterilely transfer the bacteria from here onto here, and they're separate quadrants. So I know whichever one comes out the most positive, I know those cultures are good, and I'll use them. And what I'll do is I will plate them onto these for us, and I'm going to put them in some sterile broth tubes to let them grow. And as I stated in the lecture, this, if you can see it, if this video works, is clear. So when we come back, or when I come back on Monday, I will check to see which is the best culture. Then I will sterilely, aseptically take the bacteria from this plate if it works, and put it in here, and then this should change color more or less, so it should be a little bit more cloudy, which probably tells me that something is growing in there and this culture medium is viable. And as I said in lecture, I can't tell if the bacteria is all alive because we can't obviously take respiration and pulse for all of them, but we'll be able to tell if something grew. Right. I had another culture in the incubator, and I went to look at it, and it was still clear. So I know that nothing grew on there. So whatever I transferred in there was dead. All right. So with aseptic technique, I'll go over this again in class. I hope this is showing up. I want to get this red hot, so I know I'm killing any vegetative bacteria and any endospores. So I know this theoretically right now is sterile. So when I go to transfer stuff onto here, all right, I'm going to start with my tube. I labeled E. coli ZZ. So I know that this culture is from this tube. I'm going to go and I'm going to spin it and make sure I've mixed it up. All right, so in aseptic technique, I really want to make sure everything is as sterile as possible. I don't want to touch anything. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the tube. All right, hopefully this will show up. I'm going to hold the cap here, and what I want to do is I want to flame that lid, so I'm creating a vortex, and I want to make sure that the rim is sterile in case I touch it, and I want to make sure I don't contaminate it. All right, this was sterile before, but I want to just redo it. All right, I want to make sure this is cool-ish, so when I go to bring the down into here, I want to make sure I don't go past that tube, so I don't contaminate it. And you can hear it sizzle a little bit, so I got a little bit of culture. I want to flame that again, right, not touch anything, screw that back on. Put that here. I have a gap here, so I know that this is where I worked. And once again, confirming ZZ on here, ZZ. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to just smear that on there and not go past my boundaries. All right, put this back down so it doesn't get contaminated. I want to just initially flame that again. Right. I'm going to go on to my next tube. This is going to be J. Right. So I'm going to go in, just flame that. Make sure it's clean. Just flame that again, just to make sure. All right. Just grab a little bit of bacteria, flame it again. Right. As I'm doing this, there's always a possibility, it's on this jade, that I could be picking up something from the air, but we're gonna hope not. And if it's gram positive, it won't grow on this media anyway. Right. Theoretically, just gonna do that. Flame it again, just in case. Go on to my next tube. Right. This one, when I made it, I know it was E. coli because I even checked E. coli, verified it. I verified it at EMG Auger. And if you look, it has a little bit different color because I took it off of the metallic sheen that was growing. So I know that when I did this, it was pure. Now it could have gotten contaminated through the processes. I'm not really sure. Once again, I'm going to flame that. Right, grab my loop, just flame it again real quick. Let it cool for a second. Go on, I'm just going to touch that a little bit. Flame it again. You're just getting the loop sort of, that's BB. You want to get the flame or the loop just a little bit wet, sort of like if you're dipping something into, I don't know if they still have bubbles anymore, sort of like that. Okay, just flame it again. And then my last tube is CC, yeah, and that quadrant is clear. If you look, all of these tubes are a little bit murky, so I know something's growing in them. And in a perfect world, it'll be nothing but E. coli. And these should all be pure. Flame it again. Verify my letters again. Flame it again just for safety's sake. Put it back. All right, so I'm going to take this. I'm going to put it in the incubator over the weekend. So when I come back on Monday, I will check and see which is pure. And if it didn't work, I've got a few days to make a new one if I need to. So I will check and see all of you hopefully on Wednesday.